In a special report tonight, we are taking a closer look at a delicate topic: children younger than 10 sometimes becoming victims of sex trafficking.
And it's happening right here in our own backyard. The way they are being trafficked, though, may not be the way you think. Channel 8's Ariana Martinez took a closer look at the problem and shows you how easy it's become.
Over the last 7 years, Nebraska has seen some changes in child human trafficking. The way it's being achieved, the spike in reports, and the penalties given to those involved.
When we operate under the ideas of what trafficking is, and we refer to the movie Taken, or we think of things that we see on Facebook of, be careful at Walmart putting stuff in your trunk, you'll get kidnapped and chained in a basement. Does that stuff happen? Absolutely. But I think in the work that we're doing is we see it come from a lot of different avenues. And when we live in a tunnel vision where we expect it to look like Taken, the movie, we're missing all of the other victims and survivors that their experience looks so much different.
Cell phones and social media have drastically changed how people are being sex trafficked. Some may be forced or enticed to perform certain sexual acts on social media. Experts I spoke with say apps are being used and payments can be sent electronically.
Now we're dealing with the reality of someone can put a web camera in their daughter's bedroom and sell that to anyone that wants to log in. Just because the buyer is in Massachusetts, or just because the buyer is in New Zealand or something like that, or Belgium, there's still, that person is still being exploited here in our state, here in our communities.
A common myth is that children sucked into trafficking are troubled or come from a bad home life, but it can be anyone with access to technology and social media.
What we see locally a lot of times is youth exchanging sexual acts for basic needs, things of value, other items, rides to school, things that you might not typically think of being of value. But because there's that exchange, that child is a victim of human trafficking.
Nebraska is seeing 16 times the amount of cases being reported than just a few years ago.
In 2018, our state had 29 reports of child sex trafficking for the entire year. And this year, I don't have final statistics, but from 2021, but last I kind of roughly figured it out, there were 50 reports just in Lancaster County. That still does not capture the magnitude of this problem.
Investigator Ben Flance says the amount of human trafficking happening in our area most likely hasn't changed. Rather, it's the community becoming more aware and saying something if they see something unusual.
Let's say we have a youth that comes in and they've disclosed that they've been involved in commercial sexual activity. It's not that uncommon for that youth to name off 4 or 5 names of other people they know who are doing that same thing.
We know that that does not encompass all of the cases that are happening, unfortunately.
Parents and caretakers being aware of what kids are doing on social media can help, but not everyone has an involved guardian.
That's just where the importance of, again, professionals and our general community just being educated and taking those opportunities to learn more and figure out what do I do if, and ask those questions, because that's where, frankly, a lot of these reports do come from.
If you are a coach, teacher, or someone involved in the community, learn to be a safe space so that victims feel comfortable sharing what's happening. Then speak up and report things that don't sound right. You can reach out to the Special Victims Unit or the Child-Advocacy-Center for guidance on what to do next.
You likely do know someone who has some sort of victimization, whether that's trafficking or something else. And it's important to not get into that judgy headspace and just remain open.
State leaders have been working on ways to discourage this kind of activity by creating laws, giving harsher punishment for those involved.
Compared to 7 years ago, virtually nothing with regards to penalties. A strong message came out of that case in Oxford. That person was sentenced to over 170 years.
They agree more needs to be done.
We're always coming across new situations, new cases where, oh yeah, that doesn't really fit any of these conditions that the law says that it needs to be.
For example, how a case gets classified can change the way a person is charged.
If this case gets classified as a child pornography case, does it necessarily get classified as a sex trafficking, right? So where do you draw that line?
Our goal is to make it much more difficult for those who think they can do this. Would love to have a reputation in Nebraska, bypass Nebraska because the penalties are significant and they're aggressive going after people.
The Child Advocacy Center in Lincoln is expanding with hopes of helping more victims all across the state. Reporting in Lincoln, Ariana Martinez, Channel 8 News.